Hi, welcome to the small shed. This week we're making some hanging battens for one of my wife's tapestries. See you in a minute. Now my wife's been doing some, I think it's called sashiko or something. It's like an embroidery Japanese system, and she's been doing a tester piece over the last several months at night. And she wanted some hangers to hang this from the wall in her workroom, and she'd seen some things that were basically essentially battens with magnets in that clamped the material without causing any damage to the fabric. So I thought it would be a good idea to get some oak, get some magnets and put them together and see if we can make something to suit. Okay, so excuse the chaos. We are first time back in the shed for 5th of November, I think it was, that I actually did anything much in here. That was the time the timber arrived for the boss pond. It is now it's the 1st of March. I want to get on with these battens for my wife. I've dug out a piece of oak that I got from Yandles some years ago. This is the offcut from it. I've used several bits already making things. I need 600 mil minimum. So perhaps if I took 500 mil off one end, I have got something I might want to use the rest of the oak for, but that will give me 635 mil. That'll be fine. So that's the piece we'll use. I've got to get 4 battens in all, 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom. I'm not sure whether the planer's dead. Last time I used it, you may recall, when I was doing the workbench in the garage, the planer blades got blunt, and the one thing I didn't realise that was while it was doing that, it was then loading up the motor, so that although I put the new blades in it and it cut fine, it started to get a bit smelly. So I suspect I'm in for a new planer at some point. So I'll chop that off in the mitre saw. Right, well, we nearly got there with the planer thicknesser before it tripped out the house electrics and blew up, so it's gone. So I've got to sort myself a new planer thicknesser out, and they are like rocking horse poo at the moment, so that's going to be some time. As it is, I've got one edge to finish off, which I'm just doing by hand. Now the next thing I've got to do is cut it in half and half again. Now I was going to put 2 of these pieces, one either side, clamped on, but I've decided it's far too heavy and clumpy. It's not anything that I need to do. So I am going to use the bandsaw. I'm going to rip them in half so that that is the total width of the batten. Right, so I've got 2 sets of 2 bearers now. What I'm going to do is clamp them together, drill through from the back in the positions that I want the magnets, and then, but not all the way through, so there'll still be a perfectly plain front edge. I'm just going to drill a hole at either end the same for the hanger to go in as well. What I'm going to do is put like a dowel from the back nearly into the front, but not all the way through again, and then these two will be slightly separated by the fabric, and we can tie a piece of twine or whatever around that dowel bar up and over a hanger and back down the other side. Just shows how you need to check all these things time and time again. I started off cutting 4 of these large battens because I thought I needed 2 big ones at the top and 2 at the bottom, and then found they were too hefty, so I then cut them in half. So I've only used 2 of them. I've just been up to check and realised that in fact we don't need a bottom batten. There isn't room on the hanger for it to fit, so in fact I need to make one, so I've probably used a lot more timber than I needed to. I mean, it'll come in as stock timber, but I should have really started out by going and having another look at what I looked at 3 or 4 weeks ago and thought I knew what I needed to do. Right, I've put a makeshift fence on there. I've screwed that to the bottom deck, so I've got a fairly controllable distance to get that centre line now and drill on those. So we'll just drill them out and we'll get on. I've set the depth stop just to within the front piece. So that's essentially it. All I've got to do now is get some araldite or something, glue the magnets in, make sure that they are within pairs that will attract one another rather than repel. Other than that, a couple of little holes for the hangers at either end, and once that's done I'm going to give it a good sand, get it all tidied up and just do some round overs on the front edges. But we're nearly there. When they're in the things, I'll need to mark them. What I'm going to do is just put them on a rule, all in the same direction, if I can get them off. And then once that's done, I can mark them with a Sharpie, and then we know they're all the same direction, and then I'll put one side with the mark facing up, the other side with the mark facing down, and we should be able to get them to work properly then at that point. Not a great fan of epoxy and I don't use it much, but I'll give this a go. Relatively quick setting, it's 5 minutes, so it shouldn't be a major problem till I find out how it works. Start with the little dowel pins. They don't really need anything other than something to locate them. Left a little bit of slop in the holes, both for glue and to allow a bit of wriggle room when you come to put the two faces together. So all I'm going to do now is just take these magnets one at a time, put a blob of epoxy on the back, pop them in the hole. Right, that's one side done. All the magnets sticking up. Now we move on to the other side and have them all sticking down. quick wipe over to get them all bedded and cleaned up. Right, so that's now dried within a matter of minutes really. Just giving it a very light sand of 320 grit that's pretty worn, just to get that fantastic finish that you can get just with a bit of lacquer, varnish, call it what you will, tiny bit of sandpaper. That gives a nice smooth silky finish that should last well. I might just give it a little coat of the wax stuff that I've got, that I use on the wood turning. It won't hurt on the outside, it was the inside edge I was more concerned about for getting transfer of oils and things, but I think a very light wax and we'll call it a day at that. Quick buff up after 10 minutes or so, gets it back to that nice satin finish. Very nice. Just something about wood when it's been varnished or oiled or waxed or anything, makes it rather nice. So that's pretty much it. I've got some fishing line I'm going to use for the hooks here. I've just put a couple of loops on it. This is 15-pound weight on it, so it should take 7 kilograms or more, so I don't see any problem with that. So we'll just put that on there like that, put one on the other end the same, and then that is pretty much it. Ready to go and hang up the tapestry. So that seems to have gone well. It seems fairly unobtrusive in the room and it does its job, so I'm happy with that. Reasonably quick and easy build. So hope you enjoyed the video. Look forward to seeing you next week. We'll try and do something different and we'll see you then. Bye.